Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. We're going to start here in just a moment. I'm going to let everybody sign in, and I am going to mute you guys, but we'll have time for questions at the end. So bear with me just a moment as people get on here.
I love the safer. Oh, wow. The first floor unit is 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and a duplex down to the basement. That's what they did. It was.
All right, everybody, welcome to the evening together. This is Money Mondays. We try to do this nearly every Monday at Exit Strategy. And for those of you that are guests signing in from other companies, welcome to you as well. This training is for everyone, regardless of what brokerage you're at, what level of experience you're at. I've been teaching Social Media Wheel of Life in various forms as a class all over the country in the past before COVID. Since COVID, I've only taught it once, and that was right at the beginning of it. So it has got some new things in these slides tonight, some new content, some new resources for you that I think will be helpful. And I'm even going to be able to do some things on the fly with us this evening as well to show you. So this is being recorded. I know some people will probably be joining us a little late since it is the evening and they're getting home from showings and all that good stuff, but want to go ahead and get us started here. I'm going to be sharing my screen, and I'm also going to be potentially jumping between a few screens as we go here, just to show you some different resources. So let's go ahead and get started with the screen share. So welcome everyone again. Hopefully you can see my screen now, and we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So the Social Media Wheel of Life, why are we here? First of all, I think that might be helpful is that, first of all, we don't want you to be a secret agent. We want you to be an agent that wakes up to leads every morning, not just goes out and has to hunt for their dinner, so to speak. We find a lot of agents spending money in places, especially if those of you are at my office and my coaching or in a similar coaching program elsewhere where you see the potential of agents going out there and spending money on Zillow or Realtor.com. Now, we love those partners, but if you're spending money there and you're not getting results, or even if you're spending money there and getting results, but yet you don't have the basics down on social media, you really are missing out. And even for those of you that are posting regularly and maybe getting some engagement, are you getting a good number of leads? Are your past clients sending you business? That's what we're going to dive into tonight. So when I say don't be a secret agent, that doesn't mean that you're not using social media now. So if you're newer to social media, you're not comfortable with it, that's okay. But if you are pretty advanced at social media, I'm hopefully still going to show you some things tonight that will be helpful. So let's go ahead and talk first of all about why engage in social media. A big piece of it is SEO. What is SEO? That's search engine optimization content. A lot of my content over the years, and I get about 60 to 70% of my business every year through social media. That is a lot of leads in the door. I just got a call earlier today from someone from a Peoria number, a 309 area code for those of you guys that know the Peoria area. And they said, well, Nick, I found you online. And I said, oh, Zillow, Realtor.com, where'd you find me? They said, well, I did a Google search for house hacking and you popped up at the top. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And they wanted to buy a multi-unit building. So my content and your content, because I bet you'll probably do this better than I will, but I'll show you the basics that have gotten me in the top 5 realtors ranked by Property Spark in Chicago, top 20 in Illinois. So I do know a good amount about this. A lot of my coaching has come through Marky Lemons, who's our director of education at Exit Strategy. But the whole point here is that this allows you to build your reputation within your sphere. So it's not necessarily always strangers that are going to find you, like this nice man from Peoria today. Sometimes it is someone that is already in your sphere that maybe knows 3 or 4 other realtors that had a bad experience with a realtor before. If you do a Google search of yourself, what do you find about yourself. How much content is there? If you do a Google search of me right now, and feel free to do so at the end of this, don't get distracted. I'd love to have your attention for a bit and hopefully share some good nuggets with you tonight. But if you do a Google search for me, you'll find a good amount of content, a couple pages worth, without even typing in the word realtor afterwards. You know what I do when you type in my name. Don't think that people are not typing in your name. If you're spending money on ads or postcards, or you've got your name on your sign, hopefully your signs are all bold and they say your name and they have your cell phone number, not the office line. All of that hopefully is getting you business, but it may not be getting you enough business or as much as it could, as if you had a good amount of SEO content. And then that's building your reputation within your sphere. We want to make you first in line when people are thinking of real estate. This is all free and easy. Every single thing I teach you tonight is free and easy. I want you to get referrals. I get a good number of referrals from agents all over the country. The reason why is when you type in Chicago Realtor Exit Realty, I pop up towards the top. If you are not with Exit and you are looking for a certain type of real estate like Airbnb in Chicago, I've got videos up that pop right up. We'll explain later why Google seems to favor video. There's a monetary reason for them, of course. And that's very, very important for you to understand up front, is that this is a way to get you more leads for free. Does it take you time? Yes, we're going to talk about time in a second. But a quick story for you, how the light bulb went off for me in social media. I've been in the business 23 years. The first 10, I really floundered. I'd have a great year and then I'd have an awful year. I'd have a great year and then I'd have an awful year. And I thought, boy, this is not a life. And came to Exit in 2008. Social media started to come around in 2009, of course. And in 2009, I started posting a little bit on social, but back then it was really only Facebook, and I had a Twitter account, but I didn't understand it. I also didn't understand that you really had to realize that people aren't just going to look at one or two posts. They're going to look down your feed depending on your privacy settings. And I'll encourage you later to have those privacy settings pretty open. But that means that you've got to be conscious of what you post. So you can't always have a great time. You can't always have only property. We'll talk about that balance in a second too. But this is really when the light bulb went off for me, is that I had one photo uploaded to Facebook and it ended up being 3 deals. And what it was I was with a buyer and I walked into a foreclosure. So this dates how old the story is, but this is how long ago the light bulb went off for me. And I posted a picture of the bathroom and it was a foreclosure. I knew the agent. So at that point, we really didn't even understand. You had to ask the other agent for permission if it's not your listing, but I checked, he was fine with it. And I posted the picture of this beautiful bathroom in this pretty inexpensive foreclosure. And my buyer ended up hating the place. But that post ended up getting me a friend of mine that was already kind of thinking about buying, but she knew another realtor because I posted that content. She goes, wait, can you find me that? And I said, yes, I can absolutely find you that. What areas are you looking? Well, I gave her the price and I gave her the address. And she goes, well, maybe that's not the neighborhood for me, but can you set me up on a search? She ended up buying. I don't know if she would have bought with me without it. Another person who I knew but barely was not even thinking about buying. But because I had the price, they go, wait, can you actually find me something that looks that nice for that price? I said, yeah, that's why I posted it. He ended up looking at, I think, a dozen properties with me, but ended up buying that property, ironically. So that post actually sold that listing, even though it wasn't mine. So if you're a listing agent, people ask, can I share your social, your post, your listing? Why not? And then the last one was someone else. And I use this phrase a lot, tag a friend, share with a friend. Someone on my social media feed did share it with a friend. And I get this Facebook message from a stranger, which is a quick tip number one. When you go to check your Facebook messages, and same way with Instagram now, because remember, Facebook owns Instagram. So they're starting to act more and more alike. Don't just check your messages from friends. There's another button that says messages from strangers. You will get spam, you'll get some weird stuff. And every once in a while, you'll get a stranger saying, I saw your listing. You're like, well, how did you see it? I don't even know you. Guess what? They're getting shared by your friends to strangers or tagging a stranger in it. So I love that phrase. You might want to write that down because it's not on these slides. Share with a friend or tag a friend. tag a friend or share with someone that might be interested in this listing, or a service if you're talking about a service or event. So that one photo ended up being 3 sales and $20,000. This is back in 2010. So you can imagine now prices have gone up quite a bit. It's probably about 40,000 now in today's dollars. Repetition of perception equals brand. A lot of what I coach, those of you guys that are already at Exit Strategy, I see there's quite a few of you on here from our office. You hear me a lot saying it's about the compound effect. It's things over time. It's small things every day. Don't try to change the world overnight, but small things every day. Repetition of perception is brand. If you guys aren't already following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. I'll follow you back. And one of the things that we notice is that when you use taglines, so I use a hashtag look with Liebert, and I have another hashtag that says list with Liebert. And those two hashtags get quite a lot of jokes from friends, but it is a repetition over and over. One post isn't going to normally get you a ton of leads, but repetition over time is going to say that person is an amazing agent. I think we have Heather Walters, one of our top agents at Exit. She is her first full year in the business, she hit 100,000 GCI. I thought that was amazing. We capped her out for the year. She's very good on social media, posting a lot of fun stuff. You see her with her kid, you see her with other stuff going on, and then you see her real estate. So it's a mix, and we're going to talk about balance in a moment. But first, let's start on how much time should you spend on this. I got into a trap. Have you ever read the book Time Traps? I got in the trap of sitting on social media. And I got to tell you, going on social media strategically is great. Sitting on social media, not so much. So I spend now not more than 15 minutes a day. And that is for some people hard to believe, but you've got to be just strategic on and off. Annette Anthony, who I know is not on this webinar tonight, but I'm a huge fan of hers. She's the VP of Technology Engagement for Exit International. She says this thing, she calls it 7 by 7. Celebrate, honor, recognize 7 people by 7 a.m. And then you can kind of be off social media for the day. So what I do, if you look at my time block calendar, and actually this is an older time block calendar, everything in red has been moved up. And actually now we turned that color into green because that's my green time. You should have 2 hours a day of prospecting, but you can't count more than 15 minutes a day of that towards social media. Get mobile. If you don't have all this stuff on both your iPad, if you've got a smart tablet, and then also obviously on your phone, you're going to want Facebook, Twitter, maybe. We'll talk more about how Twitter's fading in some ways. Definitely LinkedIn app on your phone. We're going to talk about the power of LinkedIn in a bit too. Get those on there. And then also, I'm adding YouTube to this. The reason why I'm adding YouTube is owned by Google. Remember when I said earlier in the first slide, why do we wonder why Google seems to favor video content? You know why? Because Google owns YouTube. The same way Facebook owns Instagram, Google owns YouTube. So there's these kind of conglomerations building, and you can't fight it. You just can't fight it. So instead, we're just going to have to play along with it. And one of those is that Google seems to favor video at this point in terms of SEO, search engine optimization. So that means that we're going to need to play along with that. I want you to cut and paste between apps. There's a couple social media coaches that I love, but I don't agree with them in terms of do not use Hootsuite. My issue with Hootsuite is each app, it's a native app to that particular brand. So Facebook has an app, Instagram has an app, Twitter has an app, LinkedIn, YouTube. So those are your big 5. Instagram does not want to get something from Hootsuite. Hootsuite's an outside app. Instagram wants you to sit on their app. And as a matter of fact, if you're going to post something, a static post, a main post, we'll talk about the difference between a main post and a Instagram story or a Facebook story in a second. They want you sitting on their app. And I recommend that you actually warm up the app in terms of getting into the algorithm and showing that you're active by recognizing birthdays, mentioning, if somebody's got a death in the family. I saw somebody, actually, there was an agent that passed away, sadly, up in Wisconsin today, or actually, this morning. So I wanted to message her family when I found out. That kind of warms the app up a little bit to say, hey, I'm online. I'm not just posting and leaving. but you really do need to, once you warm it up, post, excuse me, post and leave. Um, but you want to get those birthdays in. Plan ahead, but again, don't use those syndicators. I love getting birthdays on my calendar. What I do is in the morning is I do the birthday posts early. I don't post on their wall. I try to get them by text, maybe a phone call. If you're in the core coaching, they recommend all those personal touches every day. I even do some birthday videos now. Excuse me, that are personalized to people. But once I get those birthdays done, I'm off it until I need to post. And we'll talk about the direction in terms of number of posts you want to do per week. Uh, Interaction before you post. We talked about direct messages, comments, not just likes or emojis. Comment. If you post something or if someone posts something on your, if you have a post of your own. So in other words, you say, I had a closing today, or I've got this new listing, or here's me and my dog, whatever that is, you're going to want to acknowledge people's comments because that shows you're continuing to interact. I told you not to sit on the apps all day, but you will need to kind of be conscious, especially the first 20 minutes or so after you post something, because that is when the algorithm, that's not they, it's not humans, the bots are watching to make sure that you're actually interacting with the people that interact with your post. And again, you can warm the app up before you post your post by commenting on other people's stuff on there and congratulating on something, whatever pops up first in your feed. We'll talk about also in a little bit about marking people, grouping people on Facebook, so you can actually have people pop up first in your feed that are in a certain group. So once you post, talked about replying to all comments. The new rule of thumb: post maximum once a day in your main static feed. Make it quality, make it meaningful. I used to post several times a day in my main feed. The difference now is Facebook, Instagram, and now even LinkedIn and Twitter have stories. So if you've got something like, oh, I'm working out, that doesn't need to be a main post. I call the main feed that stays permanent, that is your static feed. The stories, they disappear in 24 hours. And how did stories come about? Well, there's an app called Snapchat that some of you guys have. Now there's TikTok as well. Those are cute little things. Snapchat disappears in 24 hours. Facebook and Instagram got mad that they didn't have that product and people were moving interests over to Snapchat. So they came up with their own version. The stories are gold. And why do I love the stories so much? And actually, I don't want to go quite to the next screen yet. The stories I love because they pop up in the algorithm differently than your static posts. So do both. Don't just rely on stories, but don't post every couple hours. I sometimes will go days between posting a static regular post, but I'm on the Instagram stories, Facebook stories, LinkedIn stories every day. I have the same content on all my feeds. In other words, each different app, I have the same content. I just cut and paste. I'm not using a syndicator. We already talked about that, but I have the same content everywhere. The reason why is I have friends that are off Facebook now. They don't want to be on it anymore. I have friends that don't like Instagram, don't get it. I have people that are not on either, or I don't know their name, their screen names on Facebook or Instagram. They've got a weird name because they don't want work to see what they're doing. But boy, they're on LinkedIn. And then there's Twitter. Twitter is kind of the one that I'm not as focused on tonight. But these are all important to continue posting. I find LinkedIn to be the least used and one of the most valuable. We'll discuss why in a bit. So these are some older slides of mine. This is a new listing of mine. I will show you an update to this in a second. And then also the one on the right, just a simple view. So one is a listing of mine, one is a view from another listing. So if you're in a unit that's not yours, for those of you guys without a lot of listings yet, if you're in a unit that's not yours, if you post a picture of the kitchen and talk about the unit, you need to ask the permission of the listing agent first. If you're not posting a picture of the unit, like this view on the right, that is a great comment. That's a pretty decent comment that I did because it's not saying the unit number. It's just a view from the Opera Lofts. But there's an update to this. And this is an update that's not yet even in these slides. I want to show you a post of mine. I want to encourage you to start, and this is going to be a little smaller. So let me see if I can make this slightly bigger for us. If you're not on my Instagram, let's be friends on Instagram. I now am doing in every post related to real estate, at least, not my personal stuff, but every post, I have a call to action and I have lead capture. So, what do I mean by that? So, if you look at this particular property on my LinkedIn, it has a text code. So, some of you guys at some pretty decent companies, hopefully you have those text codes. Exit, we've got them for you in the expert marketing suite. I love them, which means that then people are going to text a number and then you'll get their cell phone number for more information. Another strategy that's as good, if not better, is that I'm assuming that most of you hopefully have a great lead capture website. Our office, we use Market Leader. I pay for it for you guys if you're at my office. And then if you notice, every property also has its own website. So there's two different versions of the website, at least for our company, our office. You have the public website that's specific to that property only, and then there's the lead capture website. So in this particular picture, in that particular one, I also had a link that said, click link in bio. So on Instagram, if you don't have your account as a business account yet, switch it right now. You click on edit profile and you scroll all the way down to the bottom and you switch your Instagram to a business account. The public will not know the difference. And this is a big shift between Instagram and Facebook. And I'm just going to explain this out as quickly as possible for you. I don't want to lose too much time on it because we don't have, we've got about an hour tonight. I don't want to go too long and too deep into that, but I'm happy to answer questions at the end. My issue with Instagram having a separate account for business. Number one, nobody looks at them. Nobody wants to be sold on your real estate. This is a relationship business. And so therefore you need to treat it as such. People want a relationship with you, but they also want to know that you're professional in business. So you can see I kind of follow a formula. It's not that strategic anymore because I kind of have it down. But if I have a picture of a house, then maybe I've got an informational video, just inappropriate, borderline inappropriate bathing suit, fun stuff, and then a closing. So you've got listing, you've got something with a client, maybe a testimonial. We'll talk a bit later about graphics and my concern about having too much graphics only. People want to get to know you. They also want to see real estate. But at the business account, if you switch it to a business account on Instagram, no one will know the difference unless they're trained to look. The difference is in a business account, you get this little thing here. See this little thing? If you click on it, and then it goes at that point, and you can change it constantly, and you can always say link in bio. And then the link in the bio on Instagram goes to whatever call to action you have that day. So for today, I didn't have that specific call to action, but I had instead use my text message code, my digital business card. That's something our company has. I think some of you guys at other companies may have it too, hopefully. But the link in bio allows you always to refer people to something that it's not only a call to action, it's hopefully lead capture. So my listing, I had an open house on yesterday, posted the listing yesterday. Then I went and I had the call to action, said link in bio. And then the link in bio went to the information on this property, but it also has, people can look, this is my Market Leader website. If you're at my office, you guys all have one of these paid for. They start clicking on other stuff in the neighborhood that's automatically selected because they're curious, they're buyers, right? Well, once they start clicking 2 or 3 places, then it says sign in for more information. And it gets their first name, last name, email address, and or cell phone number. So what can you do then? You can obviously then follow up because it sends you a notification. That's lead capture. Don't be just posting to post. And that's the beauty of the Instagram page being changed into a business account. Now, that is only for Instagram. Facebook. Do not waste time on a business page unless you're going to be spending money to boost posts. And we'll talk about boosting posts in a while too. But Facebook, that business page has very little traction. On Facebook, I have a good number of followers as a personal page. My professional page does not do well. And the reason why it doesn't do well, nobody wants to look at it. They want to be your friend and they want to get to know you and they will look at the stuff that's posted that's about business, but that's a relationship. So the business pages only spend time on that if you're going to spend money on promoting things. But at some companies, including ours, you may have a better tool right inside, and we'll discuss that in a second. So let's go into Facebook. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger again for us. So Facebook still has, in some areas, more social and daily engagement. It's less formal than LinkedIn, as we know. The personal page is key. We just talked about it. Nobody's getting information. Nobody's sitting on those professional pages. Professional pages only useful for the paid campaigns. We talked about that. If your company, so Exit as the Exit Ad Center, we won best in class with Facebook for the posts. What you do is you can just go in there and pay through that to boost a post, and you don't even need to have a professional page at all anymore. So we're really getting away from those professional pages because of the lack of engagement. Mix business with pleasure. Don't overshare, harsh statements. Like a lot of people the last year and a half had some really interesting debacles on social media because of, maybe it was politics, maybe it was personal stuff going on. We had a rough year. Give yourself some grace, but learn if you've already posted some weird stuff. Just be aware that people do want to get along with you and relate to you. They're not going to agree with everything you say, and vice versa. But if you're going to do this as a aggregator of business and of contacts, and add everybody that you meet, because that's what I do. Doesn't mean you have to do it too, but everybody I meet gets added on at least LinkedIn. We'll discuss again why I like LinkedIn for that, and also Instagram. I'm out of people on Facebook, and I'm kind of finding in some ways Facebook is not as great as it used to be, but there's some things that you can't just get rid of Facebook because of. Number one, the events. Facebook still has a huge number of event users, so they're inviting you to events. Chicago Association of Realtors, that's what they use to promote a lot of their events. A lot of my friends have birthday parties that's the only way you get the notification. Some soccer teams, intramural sports, all that kind of stuff. But that's not just about fun stuff. What about Facebook Live? Facebook Live is a great tool, and here's why I love it. I also talk about repurposing quite a bit. Some of you are already aware of that. You've heard Marky Lemons talk about it if you're in any of her classes. I love Facebook Live because it shows up in everybody's news feed, because Facebook is mad they don't have a video tool as great as YouTube and as popular as Snapchat, so they love the Facebook Live tool. And what that means is you're shoving up that content in the algorithm, and more important for you, you can also then download that from your desktop or laptop. Can't do it from a mobile device, but you can download it, Facebook Live. That video then can be repurposed to YouTube. You can also edit it if you need to. I don't edit a lot of stuff. If you've ever seen my videos, they're not that great. We're getting better with editing. We're working on it. But Facebook Live, please start using it if you haven't already. We'll talk about how to schedule things in a calendar in a bit. Stealth campaign. This is the one thing I love about Facebook business pages. A stealth campaign. If you have a great contact list of people and you want to get things out to them, and you've maybe you're doing your monthly newsletter like we do at our office. We try to tie it to an event, but maybe you want to get things out to people in a better way or more ways. The Facebook business page, you can actually upload a CSV file to it. Hopefully your CRM has all this organized. That's, if you're at our office, just talk to me. I can show you how to do that. But you upload that to your Facebook business page, your CSV file of contacts. Maybe it's people in your neighborhood, maybe it's your entire database. But then that means you can turn around and boost or send a post directly to those people, and they're going to see it without really realizing why they're seeing it. That's a great way to use the business page. But other than that, the business pages are kind of dying out. Use Facebook regular, use Facebook Live. Venue 2, LinkedIn. This is my new baby. Getting a lot of good leads off of LinkedIn. It's more professional than Facebook or Instagram, but it's also starting to really emerge as a daily interaction point. Why? It's turning into like a news site. People are going on your LinkedIn almost as much as they're going on your Google. So what do I want to do then? I want to be able to make sure that every single person I meet I instantly add them on LinkedIn. So some CRMs like ours now, they link back and forth. All of us have the opportunity to, just like we had that CSV file for uploading things to Facebook business pages, you can also upload your contacts from LinkedIn to your database, which is wonderful. So if you've got people on LinkedIn, you just go into the tab about network, and on the right-hand side, there's a way to download a CSV file. There's also the way to now sync up your Google contacts. So see down here towards the bottom, sync up the Google contacts. That is a fantastic way to make sure that everybody in your Google is also on your LinkedIn. It's a wonderful way to kind of start off. If you're really starting from square one with LinkedIn, upload your entire database and add everybody. It is, if people don't want to get your stuff, if people don't want to be friends with you, they don't like your content later, they can always, just like in a newsletter, they can unsubscribe. They can always delete you on social media and vice versa. So please, please, please start using LinkedIn. The birthdays, it's wonderful that there's birthdays on a lot of people's. Also, job changes. Guys, if you kind of tune me out a little bit, wake up for 1 second, because this was huge for me. Job changes. I had a friend that recently moved from one consulting firm to a much bigger consulting firm, and it was a title change. I saw it on my LinkedIn mobile app. I realized on my LinkedIn mobile app that might be a nice touch to then turn around and text him. Had his cell phone number, of course. Texted him and I said, hey, congratulations on the new company. Looks like a bigger role. That's awesome. He goes, yeah, thank you so much for reaching out. Didn't get lost in his Facebook messages or in a comment underneath the LinkedIn job change notification. I reached out directly. He then turned around, remembered that. 2 weeks later, he goes, you know what? I've been thinking, now that I've got the new job, I'm in the new role, I'm making more money, I think I want to buy a place. And I thought, this guy knows probably 2 or 3 other realtors. I know of at least one that he knows that he's pretty decent friends with. Because I made that extra step in reaching out, I got the deal. I also got that deal, not just because I reached out, but because I sat on LinkedIn for 5 seconds in the morning before 7 a.m. and saw that notification. So please, please, please start using LinkedIn. Make sure everybody's all synced up. YouTube. I love YouTube. It's been pretty good to me. It sometimes comes back to me in ways I don't realize. I don't have as much interaction on YouTube as I do by any means on Instagram or LinkedIn, but somehow things are popping up, like this guy that found me online, that my YouTube videos are showing up. And for some people, they go and they look at your videos without you ever knowing, because they're not interacting or liking them. And it just is the ability then is for you to position yourself as an expert, and video comes across differently. If people watch you on a video, even as amateur as some of mine are, and I stutter and I say a lot, in case you haven't noticed yet tonight, that will bring you to life to people in ways that you can't do unless you meet them. And sometimes you won't get the opportunity to meet them. A lot of times you won't get the opportunity to meet them unless you've done this type of thing. YouTube is easy because you can do the Facebook Live and then download it. If you don't like speaking, have someone interview somebody else. Have someone come on the show with you, your show. Make somebody else be the speaker, and you just interview them, or say, talk to me about that. Lenders are great for this because lenders love to explain their loan products. What do buyers have a lot of questions about? Loan products, the overall process, attorney review period, inspection. Think of all the different people you could have on over time. Add me on YouTube. It's just Nick Liebert. Subscribe to my channel. I'll subscribe to yours if you have one. If you don't have a channel yet, become an educator on real estate by getting a channel and upload a few simple videos. All right. Always lead capture, a call to action. It needs to come in every post that's business related. Check out my blog, join the Eventbrite, search on my site, and then a link. If it's not asking for contact information, what is it doing? About links, don't share the link in the status. Share it in the comments below, or if you're on Instagram and have changed your account to business, because again, nobody will notice the difference, and Instagram is very slick with that. You say link to more information in the comments below. And then after you do your static post, in the comments, you comment on your own post, and that's where you put the link. Because otherwise, what you'll find is that people won't see it as much. The algorithm doesn't like links in the actual post itself. So be careful on that. That's why I love text message codes. I'm a big fan of text message codes. It gets their cell phone number. And obviously, they look pretty great too, because not everybody has them yet. So if you don't have those, look into them. If you're at my office and you don't know how to use them, let's get on a coaching call. Bit.ly is case sensitive. I love bit.ly, or bit.ly as some people call it. It is a wonderful way to make a long, drawn out URL easy to remember. So one of mine is bit.ly/list with Liebert. I'm going to show that to you real quick. We'll talk about blogging in a second, but bit.ly/list with Liebert, and that's capitalized L, W, and L. That goes into my actual blog, which is on my market leader. So that's the website our office provides you if you're with us. Then I've got a little bit on my stuff. I've got some hyperlinks. But could you imagine me typing out this long URL in the comment section 20 times for the different places I post, or at least 5 times for the major social media? I wouldn't have time to do that, or I wouldn't want to. But that little slick Bitly's free. Everything I'm showing you tonight is free. I also love to give any peripheral materials. If you're with us, you're going to want to make sure that you're using your Exit Realty Seller Guide or Buyer's Guide, any of that kind of stuff that goes through it. Some other companies are now having these digital presentations too. What great hyperlinks to send out. So you've got text message codes, you've got hyperlinks. Try to get people to interact with you by giving them content. And then also hopefully that content has some sort of lead capture in it. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's go back into presentation mode here. And first name, last name, email address, and phone number. Those are what I want. That's what I want you to ask for, whether it's through you, maybe it's a Google form, forms.google.com. They are free, Free, free 99 as I call it. I love free. Don't sit there and spend a bunch of money on things. If it's not included in the technology package at your office, there's hopefully a way around it. For those of you that don't have a lead generating website or the ability to do the landing pages, this is a great way around it to say, click on this form for more information. And that form can be just a Google form. Twitter, it's cocktail party chatter. It's not really what it used to be. I found that when I first started teaching this class in 2013, 2014, it was dying out. Then we had a presidential election where somebody used a lot of Twitter. It kind of got a little notice, and it's kind of dying out again. So you can definitely engage on it. You can spend a little bit of time on it. I just don't find it as engaging, as rewarding in any way as Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So really now I've moved around my preferences on these. Instagram, this is the Gen Y, this is the millennial winner. It is also gaining traction with all other demographics. I love Instagram, but I also realize its limitations. No birthdays, no contact information, none of that stuff. But I also love the visuals, and a lot of other people do too. There's not that much you can say on Instagram to make people mad. So a lot of people that found Facebook toxic over the last 12 to 18 months went to Instagram. Not telling you need to leave Facebook, but Instagram's kind of that emerging winner. They're also now doing a lot of video. So you can do videos on there. There's IGTV, Instagram TV. I got a whole training on that in the coaching blog if you're at my office. That's a whole nother topic for another time. It's not just for pictures. I love doing a little bit of graphic information, not a huge amount. Don't over graphic things. I'm going to show you at the end of these slides. It's a new piece of content, 2 different free realtor specific content pieces that are great. But I don't want you to over graphic. I have people that maybe they're just not comfortable taking pictures of themselves. They don't have a lot of listings yet, but they're very graphic heavy. And I sit there and I watch them getting very little interaction. If you go onto my LinkedIn and you look at a lot of my posts over time, you know, there's one with my friend TJ at his new place. We were just about to close. 179 likes, 11 comments, 82 likes on the graphic, and only 2 comments on something that I tagged all our agents in, congratulating them on their great June. 13 likes, 0 comments on probably the most valuable thing I had to give people in weeks, which was a seminar I did with Freddie Mac, with some leaders at Freddie Mac. I thought that was, you know, to me, that's content that's valuable. It was a graphic. Nobody liked the graphic. You don't need to even click on the pictures below, and they got tons more likes. So you've got to mix it up. People love puppies. People love babies. People love actual listings. You know, there's a listing with 118 likes and 5 comments. I don't know, guys. I love content and value, but sometimes fun stuff wins out. You got to mix it up. If all your pictures are you playing basketball or me sitting on the back of a boat, are you really in real estate? If all your pictures are great graphics and you don't have any content and nobody looking at them, you know, it's kind of like if a tree fell in the woods, did anybody hear it? Did it really happen? So you've got to balance that stuff out. So just be aware of that mix. So we'll go back to the main slides here. I will look for, boy, we're going a little slower than I thought, but these slides have some new content to them this time. Blogging. I love blogging. Again, not always my most engaging thing on the front end, but if you get a consumer, if you've ever taken the DISC test, DISC, I love that test. I've been doing it with people, both business partners and team members for many years, people at Exit. The DISC test says there's 4 different personality types in the world. There's several different personality tests say that. Some people are very visual and they're very personality driven. Other people are data driven. The blogs are where my geeks go, my info geeks. And sometimes I geek out. On Friday night, I sit there and I read a bunch of real estate stuff and I play in our technology tools and lose hours to it. And there are people that do that when they make a real estate decision. So make that a digest of what you're doing. Become an expert. I no longer use Active Rain. No offense to anybody that still does. I'm actually going to take that out of here. I use, if you use WordPress, that's a great free way to blog. I've actually now switched that to Market Leader because on Market Leader, our websites have an internal blog. You can also use LinkedIn, the articles feature. If you go on my LinkedIn and click on articles, I actually have a realtor blog. It's not been updated lately, but there's 4 years of content in there, and there's going to be some new stuff coming soon. So I use that blog, check that out. Keyword here is repurpose. So I use that blog to repurpose my content from, I've got it on my video, maybe I made an outline to be able to follow on my Facebook Live. So if you think about it, Facebook Live then becomes a video. You hopefully had an outline to get through that Facebook Live. You're like me, I gotta have an outline to get any sort of content out in a reasonable fashion. Guess what happens then is that you now have the outline to write a blog. So whatever anybody's personality type is, whatever their style is, you're kind of covering it all ways. I've done posts where the post is, you know, me in front of a condo. Maybe people liked the condo in the background or the view. Maybe they liked my shirt that day. Maybe they had no interest in any of it. And they just read what was below that. And I said, for more information on what to look for in a Chicago condo, go to my blog. Okay. Venues 7 and 8, I don't use as much. I don't see as much out of them. Pinterest, I actually deleted my Pinterest and then now I'm just about to start it again. Google business pages are gaining traction. Now, if you've never heard of that or you're thinking I'm talking about Google Plus, I'm not. Google Plus died, I think, 3 years ago now. But Google business pages are gaining traction. What I like about them is, again, it's from Google. So it starts you up on a search. It's not one for your office. It's for you personally as a realtor. So mine says Nick Liebert, Chicago Realtor with Exit Strategy Realty. It's a mouthful. But then that way, I have a business page that pops up on Google. It's a Google product. And again, it's free. I like it for SEO. Pinterest, still playing around with it. Stay tuned. Maybe I'll have a whole different webinar on that. There is a Pinterest webinar on the Exit Resource Center if you're with us. Don't spend too much time on Pinterest. Okay, Canva app, Facebook, and Instagram ads. I love Canva. The reason why I love Canva is that it makes you a little bit of an amateur graphic designer. My office, we have a graphic designer paid for because I just found that I wasn't that great on Canva, but Canva's gotten easier. There are some things that I do where I'll slap a little, just, my logo on it or something cute at the bottom, or even my text Liebert to 85377, whatever that ad of the day is, so to speak, that call to action, I put it in the bottom of the picture. So you get the picture and maybe a tiny little graphic piece. You can do cool billboards, so to speak. If you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see one of those. You can do it for your YouTube channel. That's Canva. It's free. You can pay for the extra stuff, or you can just do it free to start out if you don't have a graphic designer. Facebook paid ads, we talked about doing it very cheaply. You can connect your Facebook business page to your Instagram universal page, because remember, we don't want you to have a separate Instagram for business. It's a waste of time. You just do that Facebook ad. You can link it to your Instagram business account because Facebook owns Instagram, and you can target, spend a little bit of money, play with it. Okay. Don't really spend too much time or money on it until you see that it works for you. If you've got an internal app to your company, like we have the Exit Ad Center, please use that instead. Don't spend a lot of money on ads. If you're not doing the rest of the slides that I just showed you, why are we spending money to talk to strangers? Email signatures. I have an email signature on mine. I hope you have one on yours too. Mine's now updated with a graphic. Instead, Canva can make those for you. There's an instructions right here. You can just go into Gmail under settings, and you can go and you can create hyperlinks, and you can just say at the bottom, check me out on social media at Nick Liebert. Yours can be at whatever. I recommend you have the same signature everywhere and the same screen name everywhere you possibly can. So hopefully you can get your own name, or maybe it's Nick Liebert Realtor or whatever yours is. I have a pretty unusual last name, so I was able to just go through that. Let me make sure we don't have any questions so far. You guys are very quiet. That's nice, but I do want you to feel free to ask questions in the box, and because we're starting to get a little bit closer to the end here, I promise. So let's go back to rules of engagement. Make it fun. Don't always be selling. People don't want to be sold. People also do not need to know all your personal business. I learned that the hard way over time. The first 2 years I was in social media, after I had that first great post that got me all the money, I sat there and just kind of sprayed too much out there at once. And sometimes it was not always the most appropriate content. Learned that lesson in 2010, 2011. Keep it appropriate to a point, but people also want to know you. So you don't have to be too formal. I always tell our agents, people are going to get in your car and find out who you are real quick, and vice versa. You're going to be at their kitchen table listening to why they're selling. Sometimes it's a great story. Sometimes it's very sad. You're going to get to know each other anyway. Why lie? I can't stand when people put up another closing today. And I know some of your MLS numbers, and that there's no closing for months. Don't lie. There's no reason to. Be upbeat and motivational. I know that you can't always have a great day. I'm a very positive person mostly. There's just a day or two that just gets under your skin. Hopefully not every day is bad. And if it is, work on it. And we don't need to always know about it. You don't wear your heart on your sleeve in real life, they say. Don't do it online either. Some days it's okay to have a bad day, but not every day. Be you. You're going to be meeting them in person anyway. And remember, it's a relationship business. Congratulate them on a job change. Give them a virtual hug or a phone call when something bad happens, like that agent, sadly, that passed away today. I've had clients pass away over the years, parents, kids, all that kind of stuff. Births are always fun. Puppies, little kitties. Sad when a puppy or cat, a pet passes away. All that stuff, that's life. Life is about relationships. Build relationships. If you just post what you want to sell, you're not going to sell a lot. Again, we talked about being consistent with your profiles, the name of them, also the feel of them. Repurposing, we talked about. Tag people. So, my client today that closed, God bless him, he wore his gym clothes to closing. But we had a wonderful transaction. I met him one time for about 5 minutes. He said something about that. Yeah, I just moved to Chicago. I found him on LinkedIn, added him on LinkedIn and Instagram. He decided to work with me as his realtor based on what I posted. We never met again in person until he contacted me almost a year later and said, I'd like to consider buying a house. I want to use you as my agent. I said, oh, what made you pick me? He said, well, you're always working. You look like you know what you're doing. You have really interesting posts. And I thought, this guy has made an entire impression of me based on what I post. So it's important to post regularly, but it's also important to be you. So I don't think if I was just super boring, he would have posted or he would have used me. Super great guy. We had such a wonderful transaction and really enjoyed working with him. That entire deal was social media. So what can you do to do something every day or every 2 days? Doesn't have to be exhausting to get that type of interaction going. I have another one that I'll tell you. I have a listing that closed my last closing of 2020. So my last closing this past year was one of the largest ones I had last year. It was $1 million and some change. And that person I'd never met in person at all, not even one time. We added each other on LinkedIn. Probably 3 years ago, I think it said, and he messaged me in August of last year on LinkedIn. So remember, check those messages every day. Messaged me on LinkedIn and said, I'm thinking about switching realtors. Or I think he'd already fired his agent, very good agent in the city, actually, who had done a pretty decent job on the listing. But that agent never showed the listing. He always sent a team member. And he had no interaction with the agent personally. So for those of you guys that run teams, kind of a warning sign, he said, Nick, I see, this is the client talking. He said, Nick, I see you on your Instagram, always out. You do your own open houses, which I don't always do my own open houses, but I do a lot of them. And I think he saw LinkedIn now has stories too. I think I mentioned earlier. He saw a story or two, saw some posts, made an impression. He goes, I don't even want to interview other agents. He goes, I just want to switch agents. I already terminated my agent, and I turn around and get this $1 million listing. And I thought, wow, that is someone I've never even met in person. So relationship business, be consistent, tag people. It's like I tagged my client Igor earlier today. He then reposted it, so it's got the tag in it. When you tag your clients with their permission at a closing, after a sale, when you first list a property, I've got to get better at that myself because I'm not always engaging the client. I show them when I post it, but I don't tag them. With their permission, when you tag them, they'll reshare the post. Their friends will see, their clients, if they're in business, will see the post. And they're like, oh, well, that person that they like, use Nick or use you, they must be a decent realtor. This is a relationship business. And a lot of these online relationships are completely made before you meet them. So I always say that connect with me on all social media. How do we get this accomplished? We have 7 minutes left, so we will try to get through it, and I'll stay around a little bit for Q&A. You plan ahead. That's how you do this. Consistency is key. We have a 12-month calendar at my office we follow. If you are at my office, go look on the Google Calendar, and you'll see at the beginning of each day, there's something in blue Monday through Friday. That e-newsletter comes out, that actually comes out the 10th of the month. That's no longer the first Tuesday. So that's consistency. If you don't have an e-newsletter, that's your baseline, guys. Ours now has video in it. It's a little bit slicker than it used to be. I also like the videos online twice a month. So you're going to see this video for agents. You won't see it on my social media, but you'll see it on my YouTube if you're an agent. I will also have a consumer video tomorrow night. We do an education series at our office. We're talking about some of the great Freddie Mac programs. I mentioned I was on that Freddie Mac webinar. Well, I turned around and I said, that was a pretty decent webinar. Let's repurpose this. And I'm doing a live version of it using the notes from the last one that I did, that I was just a panelist on. Write a blog once a month. Doesn't need to be every week. Doesn't need to be every day. Don't sit behind the computer that much. Once a month, do a blog. Social events. That has been a hallmark of our office lately. When I say lately, probably about 24 months now we've been doing them. During COVID, we had to do them all on Zoom. It was a little sad, but you know what? People were bored. Now people want back in person. Whatever it is, do something that's an event, whether it's online, it's education. We do some nice things for, we've done Barry's boot camp classes. We've given away things. We've done a charity drive every 6 to 9 months. We always are trying to do something. Put that in your newsletter. Put it on your social media. I love doing the birthdays. It took me 1 full year. I mentioned the book, The Compound Effect, earlier. I've got 2 books recommendations for you tonight. They're not in the notes. The Compound Effect, and then also The Miracle Morning. If you coach with me, you're so tired of hearing about The Miracle Morning, but I swear by it. I don't care when you get up. I'd love for you to get up early with me, but get up and start your day with that 7x7 idea. Get the birthdays of the most important people to you in your phone, because it's going to eventually, what if LinkedIn crashes tomorrow, or somebody deletes their Facebook? You have their birthday in your phone. If you got a good CRM, your phone syncs to that CRM. And even if you don't have a good CRM yet, hopefully you'll find one. And in the meantime, that phone should be syncing to Google Contacts. And then that way, that lives on in the cloud, and it can go into your CRM, whether it's the one you have today. Our office, please, make sure you understand how to use that market leader feature. Get those birthdays in, get those home anniversaries in. That's why I always try to post my closings, any announcement of a closing, the day of the closing. The reason why is Time Hop or Instagram memories, Facebook memories is real great at reminding you of something. So if you didn't write it down the day of closing, you've got that anniversary. And, a lot of my clients are single or they're divorced. Some are married. I obviously love acknowledging wedding anniversaries, but there's also housing anniversaries for everybody, all your clients. Get those in. It can take up to a year. It took me a year to do it because I literally did 2 to 3 a day, compound effect, small changes every day. Materials to use or promote. We just showed you an example of a closing. I always post my listings. If you are not posting other people's listings, if you don't have any listings yet, ask permission or use some blind items, but make sure to ask permission. Do not use other people's photos without their permission either. That goes also for those of us that are buyer's agents that love to post pictures. Make sure that it's not a MLS or marketing picture that the seller's agent used, paid for those photos. Those are theirs, okay? So you always can use your own picture, you and client in front of the beautiful house. That's yours because it's you and your client in front of the house. Market stats, 2 pieces of new content. Wake up. Breakthrough Broker and List Reports. Breakthroughbroker.com and listreports.com have great content. If you just absolutely can't take a selfie for your life depended on it, or you hate video, there's some great content through Breakthrough Broker and List Reports for free $99. Start using that. And if you're kind of like, you do have closings, you post pictures of you and your clients and all this other stuff, but you also want to mix it up with some great graphics, do that. Your local board, for those guys that are not in Chicago, I saw some of you guys sign up from other exit offices around the country, a couple other people I don't know where you're from, but I noticed it wasn't here. Welcome. And your local board should have market stats. I use some of the great stats that come through Fast Stats at CAR, Chicago Association. Illinois Realtors, follow them online. Illinois Realtors, the Illinois State Realtor Association does some great ones monthly, right about the end of the month. So they're due for one. Those are great things that, for those of you like me that really try to stay away from doing a heavy amount of graphics because the lack of interaction online, I put them in my stories. For those of you that are struggling to get the content, use that stuff on your main feed till you start to master the stories. Reviews. I love to post my reviews. I posted some on, I think, Saturday, posted some Friday night, just in my stories. I like to use my stories kind of sometimes to brag a little bit if I don't want my main content to be like, look how great I am. You can do that in your stories, and people don't like it, they click to the next one. And so it doesn't stay there forever. So mix it up. Reviews are great. What is our end goal? Connect offline. So that's ironic, but that is your end goal. You're online. We talked all about online for almost exactly an hour. But the goal is you make this online presence so engaging, create value, that offline is where you're going to actually be with them. So I try to get to the point online that you want to meet with me. I'm always trying to set appointments. Do you want to meet with me to list your home or at least see it? Do you want me to meet with me to do a buyer consult? I had out of my post yesterday. So I want to show you one more thing. Out of my post yesterday on 4950 Marine Drive. That was my open house. I mentioned in that post, get a 2-bedroom fully rehabbed home for under 200,000, including parking, FHA approved building. So I made sure the building was FHA approved. If you're at my office, I sent you guys that link in the coaching blog. If you are, regardless of where you are, talk to your lender. I hate rate sheets except when I'm doing an open house or a post. And that is something that's very engaging. Everybody thinks, not everybody, but a lot of people have the misconception they need 10 or 20% down to buy a home. I had 2 people within 20 minutes of me posting this message me directly and say to me, how can I get that? How can I get that deal? And I'm like, well, it's FHA approved. And one of them is buying it as an investor, but I had a program for him through one of my other lenders. And the other person, they have had my app, the HomeSnap app, for months, haven't used it. You know, we click on it once in a while, maybe favorite one house. Do you want to go see it? Do you want to say, no, I don't have enough saved. He'd been pre-approved with a lender, but he didn't have the money down saved yet. Well, guess what? That post, he picked out 3 places to see this week. We went back to his lender because his lender hadn't explained FHA, if you can believe that. And we got him now approved for FHA, and I'm running him around to some FHA buildings. So sometimes it's not just about the listing. It's about explaining what the opportunity with the listing is. Same way with your buyers. I had a lead the other day come in off of one of the multi-unit buildings I sold. I talked about house hacking. Let me show you that post real quick. We're going to go a little bit over on time if you're okay with that. So these 2 gentlemen, I went into, that's their closing. So 200 something people thought it was nice enough to like. It was a nice little post, but I talked about house hacking. So Wrigley built 2 flat, strongly encourage all my clients to do house hacking, return on investment. And I explained it. I got a lead so solid out of that for a buyer. It was incredible. I mean, the guy just came to me. He's like, I'm approved for this, but I'd rather do it as a multi-unit. Now you showed me that. And obviously multi-unit buildings are more expensive than condos, but you use the earning power of the other units, the rental earnings from that, to get them the higher approval rate. That buyer, just came. We went under contract almost instantly on a multi-unit for them based on this post on June 30th. So here it is, July 26th, and I've already converted a lead from that all the way. Then they're closing, I think, August 15th. So do not think that you just need to post without a message. Be intentional. The goal is to get them from online to offline, as ironic as that sounds. Get the discussion items we talked about. Know the dirty dozen of people. What is the dirty dozen? First name, last name, cell phone, home address. Home address will come later. That's weird to ask up front. I get the birthday, housing anniversary, spouse, hobbies, kids. The kids is not mentioned. Spouse/children. Sometimes they don't have the spouse. Sometimes they don't have the kids. Pet names, all that stuff. I am a sponge, and I put it all in my cell phone. Group like this. This is the way you group people. VIPs, MLS clients, Sphere. A lot of people have gone to me and said, well, what's the difference between VIPs and Sphere? Isn't that the same? No, it's not. If I have a Sphere that's 500 people, maybe it's only 100. Am I really going to offer, if I have a Cubs ticket or a Sox ticket that I found on the ground or bought to give away or had an extra ticket, am I going to blast that to my entire days? Free ticket. And then everybody wants that 1 or 2 tickets or movie tickets or whatever else you're giving away that day. If you want to just spice something up or you truly just have something that randomly came your way you want to give out. No, you want to have a special separate list for VIPs. Maybe they get all your regular promotions and your regular emails and touches, but the VIPs get some extra stuff. All right. And then you have LinkedIn. Maybe that's its own separate category, or that could be combined with Sphere. All your online leads, those are not your Sphere. These are random strangers that hopefully eventually they'll move into your Sphere. All your listing inquiries, all the people you did on those Google forms and those lead capture forms that I just encourage you to do, all of that goes together. So we did run a few minutes over. I apologize for that, but I just wanted to get some of that new stuff out to you. Do you have any questions? Oh, thank you, Joseph. I appreciate that. Joseph is a great broker owner of an exit office. And yes, this will be recorded for playback. And no, you can't get my slide deck, but you can absolutely play it back. The reason why is actually I caught a few things in here that I'm going to change out again. Eventually, this will be social media 4.0. This is social media 3.0. I think next time for 4.0, when we do this class again, we're going to talk a little bit more about Instagram stories, Facebook stories, and we're going to add in some emerging things. But I really wanted to dive in deep tonight into a couple topics, and this was what I think was the most valuable. Hopefully, it will be valuable to you. It has made me a lot of money over the years, 60 to 70% of my business every year. This year, on a $20 million anticipated sales year, think about how much revenue that is into me with $0 spent, not a dollar. Appreciate you guys very much. Have a very good night, and we will hopefully see you again soon. Next month, we have a great class on how to get a condo building FHA approved, the entire building. So stay tuned for the information on that on my social media. Good night.